All right, looks like we're recording, so that's great. All right, welcome along. This session is looking at the 3ds Max program, or specifically looking at the extension or the link between 3ds Max and Civil3D, which means that you're able to make these types of visualizations, as you can see in the photos here, without needing to know how to use 3ds Max, which is the big advantage. So even us lowly engineers can figure out how to use it. The 3ds Max itself is part of what's called the infrastructure suite, which is part of the 2012 products. And we have Sean Toomey in the background here who would like to speak to that in just a moment and let you know a little bit about what they are. Some of you might have had a flyer out in the emails, probably about in the last few weeks anyway, which talks a little bit about the infrastructure suite and a bit of a deal that's going at the moment. Just before we get on to that, in the background there are several of the AUC team in the background there ready to ask you questions. So if you've got questions as we're going through this webinar, type them into the questions box in the in your toolbar there, in your GoToWebinar toolbar, and they'll endeavour to answer those as we go through. All right, Sean, are you there? Are you there, Sean? Can you hear me?
Have you got me now?
Yep, there you are, sir.
Thank you, Dino. So, very quickly, my understanding of the suites is that they're a good idea, but we're just getting our heads around the benefits of them. So the infrastructure suite, the two interesting packages are Max Design and Navisworks. Now, of those, Max Design is the more relevant one. And from my experience, we showed Dynamite, which Dean's about to show us, and Max Design years ago. And people loved it, but they weren't happy to pay $5,000 for Max Design. So this promo is basically for an additional fee of, I think, $275 on the subs renewals. You're getting Max Design included, as well as Navisworks, which is also useful. So it's the one promo that I've actually got some faith in. Now, unfortunately, the cutoff date has changed, so it's suddenly being kiboshed. Or internal joke is that maybe Autodesk realized how good a deal it was and they've decided to take it back fast for people to figure it out. We don't know what the reason is. It suddenly happened. And to make it more confusing, I think some customers will have the today as the last date. It depends on when your subs were due. Others, it will be Friday of next week. So you will have got an email from Autodesk explaining this, and all you have to know is that the date is on that email. To do it, all you do is go to the website link and just click the button and go through the options. It will incur an extra renewal fee. So the migration is zero, the actual switching from Civil to the suite. But when your subs are due, there will be something like an extra $275 on the fee, which to my mind is very good value for getting the package deals about it. So all I want to do is make sure everyone knows what the option is, and you can choose then whether to take it up or not. If you want more information on the technicalities, let us know, and we'll have one of the account managers get back to you. So back to you, Dean. Thanks much.
Thanks, Sean. Okay, so we're looking at the infrastructure design suite and the 3ds Max component. Now, you'll see on the front of the boxes of all, well, this is actually the front of the box for the infrastructure design suite, but for lots of the other Civil3D promos and things Autodesk do, they have these pretty pictures like you can see at the moment up on your screen there. That is actually comes directly out of 3ds Max. So that's what we're talking about being able to produce if you want to go to that extent. Don't have to. I'm going to show you that very quickly you can generate a simple visualization using this link called Dynamite. So let's go and have a look at what we're talking about. I'm going to start off with Civil3D and my Civil3D job that I want to work with. So I've got a photograph and it's behind my image. Let me just go and turn that off for a moment to show you what we've got. So we've just got basically in Civil3D two corridors, one crossing over the top of the other. This one's got a couple of regions, and there's this section in here is a bridge. So if I select corridor itself, that corridor, and I want the surface as well. Have a look in the object viewer. We'll see those as they are in 3D space. There is a little bit of preparation you need to do in order to take this through to Dynamite. One of them is where you've got a corridor below the ground surface. You want to go and, here we go, let's go and have a look at that. You want to go and chop a little hole in the corridor, in the ground surface, so that you can see the corridor as it disappears underneath. You're going to get the same effect as this when you throw it into 3ds Max if you don't do that. That is a relatively easy process. There's a little tool you can use that a lot of people don't know about, so I'll show you about that one. And also we need to decide what feature lines or longitudinal lines you want to export out of this corridor to go to 3ds Max. If you're using Civil3D 2011, there is a download from Subscription Center that allows you to make these exports to Dynamite. If you're using 2012, which is what this is here, up in the ribbon you've got a little Export Civil3D view for 3ds Max design, and that's the export function in 2012. That's in the Output tab. So that's built in there already. Alright, so what we have is, I've made a couple of polylines here already which are the extents of the corridor. We want to do the same thing for this other corridor, so let's go and do that. Back on the Home tab of the ribbon, under Create Design, we've got a little function here that not many people see, which is Create Polyline from Corridor. So if I click on that, we can go and grab the daylight line over here, make it a polyline, and the daylight line over here, make that a polyline, and those are 3D polylines now, and we just want to join those up together. So I can make another 3P. My snap's turned on, and snap to there, and snap to there, and at the other end as well. 3P for a 3D polyline, and snap to there, and snap to there. That being done, I can use, there is a command up in the Modify tab. This used to apply only to feature lines, but can be used for things like 3D polylines now, which is the join. Used to be horrible, but now for trying to join 3D polylines in particular, but now they can be joined quite happily. And the other end. So now when I select those, it's one big 3D polyline, which is what we want. So that's what we're going to use to cut the hole in our surface. The way to do that, we want to keep our existing ground surface. We're going to make another surface and export that surface to 3ds Max. So we're not going to ruin our design drawing by doing this. So let's go and make another surface. Call it 3ds surf, or 3dsEG might be better. And let's give it a triangulated style so we can see it in the background. Okay, I think your screen's catching up there at the moment. We'll see how it goes when we get into 3ds Max, but give it a bash. Okay, that being done, we've got our new surface here. We're going to paste into it our existing ground. So on Edits, Paste Surface, paste in EG with the road, so there it goes. Then we want to cut some holes in it. First thing we're going to do is take that 3D polyline and actually apply it as a break line, and then apply it as a hide boundary. Apply it as a break line so that the surface exactly matches the corridor around that edge, along that edge as it runs down the corridor. So first things, break lines, add, call it holes. Type of standard, it's all good. So I'm going to select that one, and we've got two more done the same way already over here. That one and this one for our abutments before the bridge. If you watch the triangulation in the background, you see it's exactly matching the triangulation of the edges of the corridor now. Then simply apply those as hide boundaries as well. Hide. Type as hide. Actually, it should be holes. Be better. It's going to be destructive. We go OK. Oops, we should have chucked that in the background to begin with. Let's go select it. No, it's not. Just send the surface to the background so I can select my polylines. That's better. And do the boundaries. It's going to be that one. And that one. And that one. Okay, so now if I select that, you'll see in the object viewer what we've done. So apply them as break lines first, and then use them as hide boundaries to cut out those areas. So we can see the corridor if it ever goes below the existing ground surface. Alright, let's do our export. So with that sorted, we go to our Output tab, Export to Civil View. Now what it does is makes a little file, and that's the translation file between Civil3D and 3ds Max. It also will show you if your corridors or any part of the drawing is out of date, and you need to update those before you're going to be able to tick them on. So let's go and fix that. That's a good little check, that one. You want to make sure everything's clean before you take it through. Let's go rebuild that one. Now what it's going to do is take through the minimum amount of information that it needs to. Actually, I should show you this before we go through as well. So we want to take just that one surface. It's going to take only the top links of the corridors. Again, those are all you need for your visualization. You don't need the subground stuff. So it's only going to take through the top links. It's also going to take through some feature lines. Now, there's a whole bunch of feature lines on these corridors. But what I've done is I've come through in here. Actually, that one doesn't exist, so we don't need it anymore. On the cross-section for my road is up here, and down below it is the cross-section. I've just put a basic cross-section for the bridge because that's all you need. In here where I've wanted particular feature lines output, I've come in and put what's known as a marked point. You can see if I zoom in on this thing, only that little square highlights. Click on that, you bring up its properties. It's a marked point called 3ds Edge of Seal, EOS. And I've got one on the other side as well. These you can name yourself, give your own point codes for them. All of the ones I've wanted to take through to Civil3D, and I've made some static feature lines, to 3ds Max. I've made some static feature lines as well that I want to take through to 3ds Max. I've prefixed them all with 3ds so that I know which ones it is that I need to select from the list in a moment. So probably a good idea to give some sort of prefix to it. Even the number 3 might do, so you know what they are. If you don't know where the mark points come from, in the Home tab of the ribbon, under the tool palettes, tool palette here, on the generic and conditional tab, these are marked points. And simply click that, type in the name you want for it. It comes with a default of mark point, and then just pick which point on the corridor you want to attach it to. Now I've got those all pre-made for me, so we can go through and just do our export. I'll show you where those come in a moment. Okay. So from the Output tab in the ribbon, make our export. What you want to do is go and load one of these VSP config files. I won't try to pronounce the shortened version there. There's a couple here already done. There's one from Autodesk, and there's one that Sean has very kindly gone through and put in for us with the ANZ version. So I'm going to pick that one. What that does is looks at all the sub-assemblies that you've got in your corridors and applies to them effectively material. These U-tile and V-tile things is what 3ds Max calls materials, what we know as materials. So that's what it's loading up. That being done, we can tick through the things we want to take through to 3ds Max, and we don't want the existing ground. It hasn't got the holes cut in it. This 3ds EG is the one who just cut the holes in. The rest we've got some feature lines in that site that I want, some static ones I want to take through, and we've got some 2 corridors. So that being done, we hit the export button. Where do we want to write it? Let's write it in here. And let's just keep it with that default name for the moment. It's the same as my drawing name, so we'll run with that. Alright, save her in there. It'll run away and think about that for a moment. 3ds, you only need, as I say, the surfaces for visualization, the top surface of your corridors, and that's what this is going through and exporting at the moment, and any line work which happen to be feature lines to make them well, they need to be feature lines rather than polylines to export them. So wherever you can, reduce the amount of data that gets transferred through. It's what's effectively a graphics program that it's going through to. It doesn't need all that extra detail. We'll get a couple of messages up here in a moment. Here we go. About unconnected link sequences. That's normal if you're dealing with a bridge. I'll close that and just show you. It's just a message saying that where we've got our abutments running along here in our bridge, these feature lines stop, and then nothing happens after that, and then they pick up again over here. So it's just saying there's a break in those feature lines. We know that, that's fine. It's not going to make any difference for what we want. So that's our export done. All right, let's go and minimize that, and we'll bring back, or we'll bring up 3ds Max. All right, for those used to AutoCAD, it doesn't work exactly the same as AutoCAD. It's similar, but it's not exactly the same. So it does take a little bit of getting used to begin with. We've got a new drawing here. We've also got, when we load up the Dynamite VSP part of it, which is part of the install files, that you actually need to go and tell it that you want to load this up. It's not in 3ds Max by default, but it is part of the install files. You just need to go and find them. The Dynamite VSP extension. There is a toolbar or panel called Dynamite VSP Civil Explorer. So if we click on that, it brings that up. And we can right click on the top of it and dock it to the left. That's an easy way to just keep it over there. Haven't yet found a way to actually stretch it out. It seems to always be that width, which can be a bit of a pain, but we'll see how we go. All right, let's go and load up that file. So we go Dynamite VSP, drop down menu there, and we have a geometry import and from Civil3D VSP 3D file. So let's click on that. Okay, it brings up this pane and we can go and open a VSP file and navigate to where it is. Not there at the moment, so I'm going to go to my desktop and find my folder I've got it in. There it is. And open that. So these are all the things that have been exported in that file. Now I prefixed all the feature lines I wanted, the ones I made with marked points with 3ds, so I know these are all of them. So I can grab the top one, grab the last 3ds one and tick all those ones. I want to take all of those through to 3ds. Again, we're reducing the amount of data if we can, so I don't need all these other feature lines. They're just going to confuse the situation. But I do want the regions of my corridors to come through. Those are the top surfaces of my corridor surface. So we'll grab those as well. That being done, that should be all we need, I believe. So let's go OK on that. It wants to translate the coordinates. At the moment, that drawing will be in possibly in a coordinate system of some type, or your local coordinate system, or it'll just be at some distance away from the origin anyway. Because 3ds Max is a graphics program, it likes to have all its objects near the origin, or as near the origin as it can get. So it's going to do a shift. You can do a manual shift, but in this case it's going to do one for you. So all you need to do is go yes. Again, this is Dynamite doing the stuff for you. So let's go yes to that, make the shift, and it's just asking you for, we're not assigning any feature interpretation styles, so which are down here, which you can grab an individual line with a particular name and generate stuff on it already, but we don't have that set up yet, so we'll leave that for the moment. And go yes. So it's going away and reading that VSP config file. As soon as you've done that, this is what you get. Yep, I think you can all see that now, according to my display. So let's go and rotate that. So you've got a view cube up in here, which is a relatively easy way of rotating the whole thing. And we can zoom into there. Now ground surface currently, just as that's the way it represents a blank surface. But you can see all our corridors are appearing there, that all the corridors already have the materials applied to them according to the link codes that were specified in that configuration file that Sean's put, what we loaded up, the ANZ one. So that's what that does. It takes your corridor, just the top surface of the corridor, there's nothing else underneath this, and colours it up for you. You get nice materials applied to it straight away. Just let your screen catch up there. There we go. So let's go and put our aerial photograph in. So what we want to do is select that surface. When you select it, you get a bounding box around it. You can see a white bounding box there, and it selects over in the panel on the left. There's what you may not notice, and it's good to take note of it, there's a tiny little grey sliver of a bar on the right hand side here. That's your scroll bar. So scroll that down for the extra information down the bottom here. Unless your screen resolution is much better than mine, which you're probably going to see the whole thing. There's a draping tab here for surfaces, and we can choose a bitmap to drape on there. Now I'm going to choose that same one we used in Civil3D. Where is it? No, I have to navigate to that again too. It's called Link Road JPEG. Now, it's also looking for a world file. Best if you can get it with a world file, because we'll just put it straight in the correct location. If you don't have that, you can manually shift them around the place, but it is a bit of a pain. So best if you can get a drawing with a world file or generate a world file to go with it. It's asking, do we want to see the bitmap in the image? Otherwise, I'll just show it green like this, so I'll go yes. And that's it come in. It comes in at a fairly low resolution so that you can still manipulate the screen okay without slowing things down too much. Okay, just let the screens catch up there. Okay, I think you've got the same as me. Alright, you can see that if I zoom in on this thing, there is a little grey area underneath that corridor, which is where we've cut the hole in the corridor, in the existing ground surface. And there's a bunch of other reddish lines in here, which are our other feature lines, our static feature lines that I asked it to bring through, that I've drawn or put on the corridor as marked points. Okay, so very quickly we've pulled in the Civil project into 3ds Max and we can start working with it. Let me go, and first thing I'm going to do here is just quickly make a camera so we can straight away start getting a visualization straight out of this. So this is all we need to do to get a visualization. So let me go and from the Dynamite drop down, this object placement style editor, and we can place a camera. This, if you look at the tabs down the bottom, is how you also place things like your signs, trees and plants, vehicles, furniture. They all use the same editor, but there's one tab down here for cameras. So what you need to do is hit this little new button, add a new element to the table at the top, and it says, well, by default it's going to pick the first one, which is an ambulance. That's not what we want to add. We want to come and add down the bottom here, camera with a 50mm lens. They say 50mm, between 40 and 50mm lens roughly approximates the human eye. So that's what we'll use. Okay, that's our camera. That's what we want to do. We need to tell it, give it a shape to follow. In other words, the centre line of the road. I want it to follow down the centre line of the road and be tasked to that. So let's grab parent shape. And I just need to grab the right one. Bridge camera, that should be the right one there. Picking things can be often, well, picking these feature lines in particular, getting the right one can be one of the hardest things because they have quite long names on them. I think that's the right one. So I'm going to want to, this is a modeless dialog box, so I can scroll out in the background here. See there's some little boxes that show us that's what's been highlighted. Give it a horizontal offset of minus 1.6 meters, 1.6 meters to the left. Vertical, we'll make it a sort of eye height, 1.8 meters, and we'll give it a speed along the road of 90 kilometers per hour. And hit the apply button. As soon as you do that, we get a little green camera showing up down here. I don't know how well you'll be able to see that, but it's there. We can change these numbers if we need to. I'm happy with that, so let's go OK. It asks do we want to save this so we can apply it to other feature lines, but no, I don't want to save the current style, so we'll just leave it as it is. Okay, as soon as we do that, from the drop down at the top here, we can, rather than orthograph a camera, we can then choose our camera we've just produced off to the left of that center line, and we can hit the little play button here to start animating along the road. So you can see straight away there's the animation begun. All we need to do now is dress it up really, put in some trees, put on the edge of the road, put in some cars, and animation and visualization done. Very, very quick. Just before we start dressing it up, let's go and show you how the link is maintained between Civil3D and 3ds Max. So let me just do a save here, and we'll call it Demo 1. It's me, Demo 1. There we go. And save that. Yeah, I think I actually put that in the wrong folder there. Let me go save as on that. Yeah, I did. Let's go and put it in the same folder as the rest. Doesn't have to be, I'm just keeping my data set in order. There we go, that's better. Alright, so let's switch back to Civil3D for a moment. Let's do something ridiculous. So the point is, you can change your Civil 3D project and have those changes reflected straight away in the visualization you've done. So you don't have to leave the visualization to be right at the end of the process. For instance, if I do something ridiculous with my bridge here, for instance, I grab that IP and make a big hill in it. Let's do that with it. I want to, we'll see it happen in here, update my corridor, and we'll see we'll have a huge amount of fill appearing in here, and the bridge will have a big lump in it. There we go. Alright, we've made some design changes. Of course they can be horizontal as well. We'll just stick with this for the moment as an example, and I can export it again to 3ds Max. I could just overwrite the previous file, but I think I'll make a new one for this to make things a little bit easier to switch between one and the other. So let's just tick off the EG there and export it. I'm going to call it OTT 2012 over the top and save it in that folder. Okay, well, I'm not doing too bad for time, but I think what we're probably going to want to do is do a reasonable amount in this session here. I don't want to go too fast because it's easy to race through this stuff. We might do a short session next week just to pick up any extra bits of the adding in additional dressing to the scene, if you like, just to finish off the last section if we don't get completely finished today. We'll see how we go. All right. That's ours done. And we can close that. All right, switch back to 3ds Max. All right, so what I can do is go and in the Dynamite VSP menu up here, we've got another thing which is the Imported Object Manager. There it is. These are all the objects we just imported from the Civil 3D file. I can select all of those, shift select, right click and change the source file association. So if I hadn't changed the name of that source file, I could just go update and it would update it straight away, but I want to show you can change backwards and forwards between different source files. Here's our OTT source file, open. Yes, we want to do that. And then once again I can shift select all of them. You can see that changed color to show you what it's done, or that it has done something. And update those. Yes, we want to update, and we should see straight away that it'll update our scene here. "23 imported objects have been updated and one dependent. The dependent one is the camera we've just made, which means that we've got our, let's clear that screen, we've got our lump in the corridor now, but also as I play this you'll see that the camera will now follow that new road surface. There's some static feature lines down there. But because we slaved that camera to the center line of the road, and that center line of the road has changed, the camera that is slaved to it has also changed. All right, and we can scroll backwards as far as we want to, backwards and forwards along the road. Don't know how well your screens will be catching up here, but just see how we go. The recorded session, if you need to look at it later on, will be much smoother when you're looking at it. Okay, so that's very quickly that change gets made, and anything that is attached to that center line of the road, which is a marked point, gets updated and modified in the scene as well. So that camera gets modified, and also anything else like the bridge itself, like power poles, like vehicles, anything else that's slave to that centre line of the road will stay attached to it as the Civil 3D data changes. And that's really the power of this thing. So you've got power in that way, and you've got simplicity in this Dynamite VSP not needing to have to know how to delve into 3ds Max itself. 3ds Max, from what I understand, is easily as big as Civil 3D and would take you, well, the average person, a year to be completely competent properly in the use of it. But this Dynamite VSP panel we've got here for us to use shortcuts all of that. It makes it very easy to get stuff in very quickly. All right, let me just change those objects back to how they were. So let me go back to the imported object manager and select all of those things again. Make sure I get them all. Change the source file back to our original one. There. Shift to there. Update. Yes, we do. Okay. Q. All right, that's good. Back to where we were. Got some extra feature lines in there by the look of it. We might just remove those. Okay, let me change back to the orthographic view so we can go and pick some stuff. Okay. I'm going to pick that one. Can delete that. That one. Delete that. Just to clean this up. Let's keep some of those static ones, which I didn't really want it to. I think that's got us now. Okay. Alright, so we then look at the other components of 3ds Max. Now, we'd like to make this bridge here for a start. We can just get the camera out of the way for a moment. If I pick on the camera, it highlights, it appears over here on the left, and I can tell it to select it as hidden, and that's what we need to do. To unselect that. Okay, let's have a look at this bridge. At the moment it's just the top surface of the road is all that's there. Now we want to make what's called a swept object along there. So let's go and do that. Let's make a swept object style editor. And in order to do that, we go and make a new entrance, similar to how we did with the camera. Make a new entry in this table up the top here. And we have to give it a parent shape to follow. So click on there, tell it to find a parent shape. Now I've got to find the right one. If I move it around, it'll give me a highlight of what the name of that is. Barrier's not the one I want. That's one I've made there. Often the hardest part is selecting these feature lines. No, that's not the one I want. That's surface. Come on. Alright, try the other end of the bridge then. Yep. Come on. Yeah, no, that's the wrong one. Okay, give me a second here. I'll just need to pick it. No. I'll try and pick it before we come in there. So let me delete that. Alright, that's the region. Just persevere here for a second. That's the feature line. The actual one I want is one of these ones. No, it's still not the right one yet. That's the barrier again. Let me close that off for you. The feature lines are shown here. These are imported shapes. The one we want is called barrier. It's one of these ones. Down. Let me just check it's actually come through there. It may not have been one that's come through. That might be the problem. Let's go to the import. Geometry import. That BSP file. Apologies for this. We'll sort this one out. Open that VSP file and bring in, that's the ones I'm missing. That explains a lot. And we've got those regions are in there already. Okay, let's bring those in.
Do you know?
Yeah, how are you?
We've got someone here saying that you can use the pick list on the swept object dialog box next to the pick object button.
Okay, I didn't see the pick list. Let's have a try. Okay, thank you.
And we had somebody as well asking why you wouldn't use the corridor object at the bottom of the bridge.
The corridor object, by just picking on the lane there, if that's what you're meaning, is a surface as opposed to a line. I need to pick a line.
Ah, okay.
Okay, let's go for the swept object style editor. Oh, I see. That must be the pick list there, is it? Okay, let's try that. Let's try this once more to see if it's going to work for us. Okay, it's still getting that barrier one, so let's try the pick list if that's it. Ah, there we go. That's nice. Okay. So the one we want will be region 1, corridor 1, region 2, one of these ones. You should see that in highlight. Yes, we want to span the splines. Okay, yep, it looks like it's grabbed the right ones now. Let the software catch up there. And we get the pick box in the right place. Good, good, good. Thank you, sirs. It's a nice new one for me. That's great. Helped me a great deal. So it's going both the left and the right is picked at the same time. So we make an entrance in this table, and you can see straight away it's starting to build these bridge elements out the side. It's concrete, and we've got some horizontal offsets, etc. So if I click and hold on these arrows, I can move them in and out as I need to. So let's make a horizontal, say it goes 0.8 of a meter horizontally, and then we go and make the next element. So hit the little next element here. Make our vertical offset of, say, plus 1.5 meters high, and we'll start the horizontal offset in a bit tighter. I'm going to have a look at what we're actually doing here in the background. So you can see we're constructing elements for the shape of the bridge. Bump it down to 1.4, 1.2 meters high, say. Make another one. Let's go out horizontally for, say, 300 mils. You can type in there if you want, 0.3. Let's go another element. Set this one for the outside edge of the shape. You can build a profile from a shape too if you want to. You can see up here in the pick box. I don't have a shape at the moment, so I'll just build it this way. Let's go negative a little bit and pull it down. It's down below the bottom of the bridge. And we want to close it off as well. So in order we can click on a closing surface and it'll close off the bottom of the bridge for us. So let's tick that on. We'll find that it has done that in the background. Scroll out a little bit. It's not showing on the bridge very well, but let's go zoom in a little bit, do a bit of a rotate. Come up a bit. There we go, there's the bottom of our bridge. You can see that there. I might go back and adjust this one a little bit more. There's no vertical, this one here, change the vertical offset. Horizontal offset can be a little bit more. So we can change the shape of that a little bit more and swing it around as we need to modify it. Go back to on top there. If you lose your way, go back to the view cube. It's always the way to get back. Give it a rotate. And what we also want to do is these little end faces, we want to cap those. Now in order to do that, we actually need to make this a closed shape. So what we do is put the spanning surface on, which makes a link actually between the two edges of the road. Now because we've got super elevation applied in here, we've got a little bit of an overlap here. We need to, just in one spot with super elevation, must be higher on one side than the other. We'll fix that in a moment. But now that we've ticked that closing surface on, we can put a capping surface and we'll cap these ends for us. So turn that on as well. Okay. So we can go back and manipulate this as we need to, but we'll run with that to begin with. So let's close this dialog box. Again, it's asking if you want to save this style so you can apply it to different center lines, make another bridge that's identical in a different place. I don't at the moment, so I'll just leave that there. Now with this thing selected, anything we select gets a little gizmo in the middle, and I can just, in order to fix up that there, I can nudge it down using the gizmo, or what I might want to do is right click and I can move numerically, and let's just drop it down minus 0.01 of a meter. Drop it down by 10 mils, and that gets rid of that. It's just a tiny little. So I've actually dropped the whole bridge elements there by 10 mils, and that's it's not going to be seen, so that's fine. Okay. So straight away we can switch back to our camera. There's our bridge, and we can go for a drive along it. From here I can pick it. Just let my screen catch up. Sorry, just see your screens are catching up there, so let's just let them catch up. There we go. I can pick that that bridge element again and go and change those swept elements if I want. So we go to elements. I can see that the edge of that's wrong. So I'm going to, that's 1, 2, 3, the fourth one, that one there. I can change the horizontal offset. You can see it's changing there as I do it. So something like that might be a bit better for a bridge. And hit escape. Oh, sorry, unselect. All right, and we can go for ourselves for a drive now. So straight away, we're going for a drive down the road. Okay. Well, the next thing everybody wants is some cars. So let's go through throw some cars in, and we'll come back and look at dressing the rest of this. I guess would be a good idea to come back next week, I think, just looking at the time. So cars, very similar to what we did with the camera. So let's go and do that. Dynamite VSP, object placement style editor. Everybody wants cars, so let's go and just show you quickly how to do those. First run through, and then we'll do some other stuff later on, next time. So we're going to make an entry in this table up here. We can select we want cars. We can select we want multiple cars at random chainage, and we also want to randomly select any of the objects from that list down the bottom there. So use random objects from that category. We need a parent shape. Hopefully I'll be able to select it this time for you. If I come down here, the bridge camera line, that's the one we want. Just let that update. It seems to be going pretty slow at the moment for some reason. Actually, that's not the one I wanted. Let me just change the view back here and I'll be able to go and pick it. Change back to orthographic. Give it a rotate. Go to parent shape. That should be it there. Yeah, in chainage is nice and big. Okay, we've got the right one. We can also zoom out on this thing, and as we're zooming in and out, it puts a little square at the beginning and end of that that line, so it tells us to pick that one, which is good. We can also tell these vehicles to run on a parent surface as well. So I'll pick that one. I don't think that's going to make a huge amount of difference for these vehicles. So we've got a horizontal offset for these vehicles of, let me see, what would we go, minus 1.7 because we drive on the left-hand side of the road. Vertical offset of 0, cross full, that's fine, no rotation. And as soon as I've done that, I can hit apply, and it will throw those into there. Now, we might have a few too many vehicles here. Let's see how we go. It's told it to do 20. And in the background there, in a moment, there we go. Yeah, there's a few too many vehicles there that kind of scrunched up. So let's knock that down to about 15 or so. And apply again. You should be able to see in the background those vehicles appearing. A little bit better. It's a little bit scrunched up, some of them, but we'll see how we go. And you can do obviously the same, throwing the vehicles in the opposite direction, and then you can add in a whole bunch of stuff. Now I've got one pre-made here. We'll get into how to do these next time, but let's go and delete that line. Apply that. Okay. Go and do we need to delete these? Possibly. Select the car. So we select select similar, maybe not. Select similar. And delete those. Select similar. Delete. Just get rid of these. Probably would have been a better way to do these if I hadn't removed that line first, but this won't take a minute. So basically what we can do is keep filling in that table in there, and we can put in additional cars coming in the opposite direction. They just get rotated and given a negative velocity to run a negative direction down the chainage. There we go, that'll do. And do things like power poles get added in the same way, that's street furniture. So let's go and open a style, and I've got one saved here, doing vehicles and furniture, and you can see that it just fills in that table up there, random cars. Well, actually it's only got 7 each way, which makes more sense. It's got a truck and it's got some light lamp poles, I should say. You can apply that. We could have vehicles straight away. There we go. That's looking a bit better. OK. Switch to our camera on the road, and straight away we've got a visualization that we can start using and driving down the road. And even my little laptop here is coping reasonably well with that. So that's a first run visualization, really, if you like. We'll look next time at making barriers and adding in trees and things, buildings, making this look much more, just with the addition of a few little things like that, makes this look a lot more appealing, if you like. However, there might be one thing you want to do, which is know how to render. That's what we need to do out of this thing, is render. So let's just do a static single photograph render from this position. So we hit rendering up here, hit the render button, goes away and thinks about it for a minute, and I'll bring up a little pane and start rendering that particular image that we're seeing there at the moment. What we might find is we need to put a sun in there at the moment. We don't have any daylighting effects, and I think you'll find that the cars will come out in an interesting shade of silver. We might just go 5-10 minutes over, if that's okay with you guys, just to finish this a little bit off, and then we've got a I'll show you where you can download a movie render that's been done of this little visualization. That'll keep you going with something to look at until next week, if you like. We can finish this off and put in some extra furniture. Yeah, you can see this interesting color of silver in here. That just means we haven't applied a sun yet, or any way for it to work out where its reflections are, I guess, what's happening there. So let's close that. Let's go back to an orthographic view for a moment. Scroll back a bit. You could see, well, you may have seen in that little image that we did, or that little render, that all the photograph comes through properly when you render it up. Let's go and put in some daylight then. So again, Dynamite does that for you. You can right click on daylight, create a daylight system. It's pretty straightforward, just telling you to use the right hand panel. You pick a spot on the grey ground at the bottom here, and once that starts sorting itself out, give it a second. drag your sun up into the sky. It can be anywhere, it doesn't matter where this thing is created. That being done, we can go get location. It's going to be not in North America. Let's go for Australia. Let's go for, has it got Wellington? Hey, it's got Wellington. Let's go there. Okay, I'm not so New Zealand centric. Let's go Sydney. Okay. There's Sydney. Here's the time and date. Let's go for, well, let's get lots of shadows and things, which is what we've done, what I've done there. So it's, let's say 4 o'clock in the afternoon, 1600. You can see the sun slants itself over there. And that's all we need to do. Deselect that. Oh, there it goes. It's slanted itself over. Made another sun, which I didn't want to do, so let's just escape out of that. Thank you. Alright, let's go and try our render now. There's the render. Sometimes you need to play around with the exposures a bit on the render, but I think you'll get the idea. So once you get your way around the actual dynamite panel there on the left, it really is taking the hard work out of 3ds Max and making it, what have we got here? It's very dark. Oh, I see what I've done. Let's go back down to sorry, I want to go back down to the ground view there. Here's the daylight. Let's check the time on this is right. Hours, 21st, that should be right. Yep, okay. Let's go back down to the camera view. There we go. And try our render from here. Render. Goes away and thinks about it for a minute. Okay, exposure's a little dark there at the moment. I think it's reset my my exposure settings there a little bit. So I'll just go and give those a nudge. Once that's complete. Okay. You can see it's rendered fine, it's just the exposure on the camera is a little bit much there. Let's change that to about 13, I think should make it brighter. And rerun the render. This render component, you can see I picked that from 3ds Max. Drop downs up the top. Sorry, from the yes, 3ds Max as opposed to Dynamite one, so it gives you all the settings that are available. So these do take a little bit more. That's looking better. A little bit more nutting out if you need to use those, but there's not very many you need to actually use. Here we go. Now we're getting the result we wanted. So this render here, you can see it takes about 30 to 40 seconds for one of these images. Basically, when it makes the videos, a video run through of this thing, each frame of the video is rendered to the same standard. So it takes about 30 to 40 seconds for each one. So I'll show you in a moment where you can download the video from the AEC website that we've made, and that will allow you to have a bit of a look at one of these things. The video that I actually made there took about just under 3 hours to render itself, so that'll give you a bit of an idea of sort of the time it might take. So you can see the actual vehicles and things come out much better in the actual render that it does, as opposed to this preview image. But the preview is not bad for a first run through of visualization for your own use, or even first look for a client. Okay, so let's go and have a look at back at the PowerPoint here. What else we've got? So other things I would like to cover next week is things like adding in some little columns in the bottom of our bridge. There's a little rail corridor down here. We want to put some barriers or some barrier rails down the side of our bridge. Put some trees in, and as soon as you do that, and buildings as well. Buildings is a relatively quick way you can build those. Go and have a look at that next week, just for adding in extra information. And just that small amount of information actually makes quite a difference to the drive-through. Just gives it that little bit more realism. So it's running here for me. I'm not sure how much you're going to be able to see of that. It may just be all black. Put your hands up if that's just all black. Just a little hands up button there. All black. Yeah, looks like it's not working. Okay, it's just my internet connection speed is not enough. Okay, I'll try one other here. I've got some examples here. Click on examples. Okay. Don't know how well this will be streaming to you guys. I suspect it's going to be too slow. Is that I can stick your hand up if you can see it, and it was halfway okay. Halfway okay. Oh yeah, it's kind of running. Okay, so this is actually on YouTube. This one on YouTube. There's a bunch of stuff people have made in 3ds Max. This one is one from Autodesk showing a bunch of examples of what's been built. These are using civil corridors as well as things like Revit buildings that have been put in there. Revit structures can be put into 3ds Max quite happily, and they've done some nice visualizations. One here, if I just pause that for a second, scroll back. One here is just a simple roundabout. Well, it's not so simple, but it shows that you don't have to model everything. They've modeled the corridor in the area of this new roundabout. They put some cars and things on it. I don't think they've even put trees in. And this other stuff is all aerial photograph that they've got in the background here. And even the stuff further out just looks like a vague repeating aerial photograph. So you don't have to go super involved in your models. You can just go and not, or you don't have to go to the nth degree, if you like, is what I'm trying to say. Hands up if you can hear the nice music. Nobody can hear the nice music? Oh, that's a shame. It's going to leave you some nice sounds and tunes to smooth your way into Friday afternoon. But there we go. Go and have a look on YouTube. Gives you more examples of what can be done, although obviously these are probably people that have used things like Dynamite as well as are already fairly skilled in using 3ds itself to get all these interiors of buildings and things. But there's a heap there, and I'll give you an idea of what it can do. It's pretty cool, and it's a lot of fun to use. All right. So I think we'll need to sort of call it quits at that point. We'll come back next week, and we'll just do the last bits, finishing off, putting in final details and things. We've broken the back of it today, of how it actually works. We'll just show you how to build a few extra things, make it look nice and pretty, and I'll show you where you go and make a a movie such as the one that you'll be able to download from the AEC website during the week. Alright, so hopefully that's been a little bit informative for you. As Sean was saying, if you want to get into this this deal that they've got going, that Autodesk has got going at the moment, for just basically the subscription cost is the only thing that is involved. The actual cost of buying the suite is at zero at the moment, so it's a pretty good deal. Okay, so I think without any further ado, I will bid you farewell from lovely Motueka, snowy as it may be and cold, but nice. And let's get you guys tuned in next week, and we'll just cover off those last little bits to get this visualization looking a lot sweeter. But as you can see, very quickly you can get something usable straight away from this piece of software. Very good. We'll catch you next week. Thank you, and have a nice weekend.